Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So Bitcoin has had an absolutely insane last 8 hours of price action, dropping over 7% and retesting $97,000. We're going to dive into the charts today to talk about what exactly we need to signal a reversal here for Bitcoin on the short time frame and the high time frame charts, and the potential for a continued bearish correction and what those levels are going to look like. As always though, before we get into all that, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Monday, Wednesday and Saturday. If you're after even more content, be sure to check out my free Telegram channel, and if you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so diving into the charts here, what an absolutely insane chart that we're looking at right now. It has been a crazy couple of hours of price action. So as we can see, Bitcoin has had a massive crash here, rejecting from 102.5k resistance and falling all the way back below this crucial level of support, or that breakout point there at 100k, and moving back down towards $97,000. So for those of you guys who don't know what caused the crash, there was a couple instances of economic data that came out last night, but one of the most important ones, I think, was the JOLT job openings for November. So it is a retrospective piece of data that essentially tells us how the sort of labor churn rate is going, or how the job market is going in the US, and provides a really good sort of indication as to the growth in the economy. So we saw 8.1 million as opposed to the 7.7 million forecasted estimate or result, and thus it basically tells us the US economy is growing at a much more rapid rate than previously expected. And so when we're looking at moving into 2025 and wanting rate cuts and having the market pricing in rate cuts, that's obviously not very good, right? Because if the economy is growing quicker than we expect, then the Fed is going to be less and less inclined to produce rate cuts across the year. So if we take a look at FedWatch, we can see the probabilities now of having some sort of rate cut is all the way down at 4.8%, with a 95.2% probability of seeing just a hold at the current rate of 4.25 or 4.5. So naturally we saw a really huge crash here, and so let's dive into the video today, and we're going to talk about this crash and seeing a reversal here, potentially what we need to actually signal that reversal on both the very small time frames and the high time frames, and then of course otherwise the probabilities of a continued plummet for Bitcoin here and what those levels are going to look like. Before we get into the rest of the video, guys, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, BTC. We can get 15% off all of your trading fees and up to $5,500 in sign-up rewards when you create your free account using the link down in my description box. BTC is an emerging cryptocurrency exchange committed to providing you with a secure, convenient, and highly functional trading and investment platform. Available across all countries as a non-KYC exchange, get global access to over 150 trading pairs with minimal fees on both spot and futures contracts. Join today to get $5,500 in sign-up rewards and get 15% off all of your trading fees by signing up using the link in my bio or by using the code 1GG3 when you create your account. So taking a look at the crash here in the charts, obviously it still looks very fresh. It only happened a couple of hours ago, and so the price hasn't really had that much time to consolidate and for us to actually see any sign of strength in the buyers. But if we zoom into the very small time frames, we can start to see that the sellers at the very least are beginning to exhaust, or have already exhausted. So for example, starting off on our hourly chart over here, we can see we've gone on to retest a level of support at $96,000, right? This had been a previous level of support that we had, established on the 3rd of January, moving into the rally above $100,000, right? So we're going on to retest that, and if we take a look at the RSI as well, we can see that we are massively oversold right now, right? So there is a degree of probability and likelihood that we're going to see some sort of stagnation here, where Bitcoin develops some sort of consolidation, and in that consolidation what we're looking for then is a sign of strength in the buys, and that we're seeing that sort of strength step in and push an actual reversal here. Zooming further into the 5-minute charts, we can see what we're really looking for on the smaller time frames. So at the very end of the crash here, we had this downtrend sort of develop here on the 5-minute charts. And then alongside this increasing bullish strength on the short time frame. This is a very small time frame, right? And following that, we had a breakout of our downtrend. Now, in the break of our downtrend, what we're really looking for is for Bitcoin to continue to form these higher lows as we've done over the last couple of hours and higher highs as well. So that is where we are struggling right now. We're struggling against this prior level of resistance, or the prior high in that same downtrend here at $97,200. If we are able to get above that on these small time frames, we can expect a continuation back up to retest $98,000, and that would also signal, if we go back to the 4-hour chart, a bounce from the 200 EMA, right? And that would take us right back up to this level over here, back above this level of resistance on the higher time frame chart. So that'd be a good sign. We're starting to see Bitcoin gather some strength on the smaller time frame. However, while we continue to struggle against this 97.2K level of resistance and fail to move upwards into 98K, all we're really seeing here is a short time frame establishment of a local bottom, and then a failure to sustain a bullish break and move back upwards. So for example, when I referred to that sort of 1-hour RSI oversold sort of signal over here, all that tells us is that the sellers are potentially exhausting. So for example, Bitcoin could go sideways for the next little bit, RSI could recover back upwards, and then be prepared for our next leg downwards if we're not able to clear any sort of those horizontal levels that mark an actual reversal on the short time frame. In terms of a high time frame reversal and what's actually going to signal a continuation back above these sort of crash levels and back towards $108,000, what we're looking for is a move above 100K. So let's zoom out to the 4-hour chart and let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Maybe let's go to the daily time frame actually. So on the daily time frame here, we have our broader market context, right? Or broader price action context. And we can see that just yesterday we had a massive breakout from the top of our previous sort of horizontal trading range, or our, the upper range of resistance at $100,000, and upon rejecting at 102 and having that economic news crash, we've lost 100K as a base of support. So in order for us to actually see a high time frame bullish continuation, the short time frame reversal needs to have enough strength to push us back above $100,000, but also hold that level in the future as a base of support. So like we saw over here, guys, right, rejecting from 102, we went all the way back down to retrace these lower levels of support. It wasn't until we saw a flip of resistance and a retest as support and bounce that Bitcoin was actually able to facilitate a continuation above 102K and towards that $108,000. So in terms of high time frame, that's what we're really looking for, is that bounce and retest and that actual establishment of support. So overall, guys, it's not looking all that great just yet. We're still waiting for that sign of strength. And so that brings us to the flip side of this conversation, right? The potential for a continued bearish move and what those levels of retracement are going to look like. So we know right now Bitcoin is at support at $96,000. If we continue to reject off this level of resistance at 97.2 on the short time frame and we fall below 96,000, the next most likely level of retracement is going to be right down to $95,000, which is also the end of this sort of volume gap that we have here on the VRPV. So 95K is a huge level of support, as we can see from historical price action over here. Let's just zoom out into the 4-hour charts. Right, we can see multiple retests of 95K as a base of support, and acts as a very strong level of resistance conversely, right? So that's going to be the next retracement point, and then beyond that we can expect a further move downwards to retest the prior low within our prior short time frame uptrend. So we've currently lost that uptrend, and that marking a level of significance being 93,000. And then beyond that, of course, we have the range low of that huge horizontal channel being $91,000 to $92,000. So that's a wrap on Bitcoin, right, guys? We've had a very recent crash. It's still very fresh, but we have our very clear sort of short time frame bullish validations, and that would signal a continuation back up to $98,000. And in holding that level as a base of support, as we've seen in the past, hopefully facilitate a continuation back above $100,000, and on a high time frame, an establishment of support at that level on a daily chart will facilitate a push above 102, and so on and so forth. And we have our opposite, our bearish validations, the loss of 96k support, and a retracement to potential lower levels and what that's going to look like. Now let's move on to total 3, because total 3 is looking very, very critical and the charts are developing very interestingly. So obviously when we have a market-wide crash, one of the largest questions is, has this affected altcoins to a degree where we can expect a high time frame bearish continuation and, for I guess the risk of altcoins to have massively increased. So what we saw from this crash was a rejection from this prior high in our downtrend over here. We've got two sort of downtrends. The first one being a sort of channel, right? We saw the break of that channel. That's great. Move up to retest prior high in the other downtrend. Now, what we're seeing here is a retracement of that downtrend as a base of dynamic support. So if total 3 manages to bounce from here, that would be a very good sign, and essentially tells us that despite the massive market-wide crash, the overall effect on the higher time frame charts has not been, I guess, severely detrimental, right? We've seen a crash, and sure, that sucks, but it wasn't enough to signal a continued loss of $950 billion support here and a move back down and into this lower level at 830. So that would obviously be much more devastating for alts than we have already currently seen. I think a lot of the charts for altcoins are actually retesting a macro levels of support. And while they hold those supports and total 3 holds this trend line, we're very likely to, I guess, see a high probability of a bounce here from altcoins as opposed to a further downwards move. What we can also see mapped out here on total 3 is a recently developed macro uptrend along with the corresponding RSI uptrend as well. So we currently have 2 points of validation for that trend line and are very, very close to going in for a third. So in the next little segment of price action, what we want to see is not only a maintenance of our high time frame downtrend, right? We want to bounce from that downtrend, but also if we go on to retest that uptrend, we want to see a strong bounce from that uptrend as well. So that's all going to signal that despite the crash, macro-wise, altcoins still have a lot of strength and we're unlikely to see a further correction. Same goes for that RSI trend line as well. We want to see that the price is moving away from that trend line and above. And very clearly in the next move up, we also want to see, in similarity to Bitcoin, higher highs print. So potentially a move up to retest the top of this next level of resistance here at 1.1 trillion, and in establishing support at that level, a continuation to the all-time high for alts at 1.13 and 1.16. Alrighty guys, that is all the analysis that I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're after even more content, be sure to check out my free Telegram for daily updates as well as crypto and economic news. And if you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. And if you are a trader, don't forget to sign up down below to BitUnext to get 15% off all of your trading fees. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.